Good morning. Today I'm going to show you how to install Linux Mint on your computer. Linux is freeware software which costs nothing. To actually go onto Linux website, you need to go on to www.linuxmint.com. Now, to install this software, what you have to do is basically go into download, scroll down. If you're going to do a 64-bit version, you choose 64-bit, otherwise you can choose 32-bit versions. There's various versions of this Linux install, from Mac to Cinnamon, but I'll be just choosing Cinnamon 64-bit. Now it brings you to this download page where you can download it from many sources. For the purpose of what I do is I download it from the UK site. So we look for the UK bit, and I'm choosing University of Kent UK Mirror Service. Click on that, and then all you have to do is save that document, which is Linux Mint stroke 16 stroke Cinnamon stroke DVD stroke 64-bit ISO file. What you do is you burn that to a CD-ROM. You can do that with Nero. I believe you can do that with Movie Maker or Windows Media Player. Any sort of burning software you've got. And I think you can do it in Windows as well. Basically, you burn that particular file, which is about 1.16 gigabyte in size, and you burn it onto a CD-ROM. Well, when I mean CD-ROM, it's a DVD-ROM. You burn it too. Once you've burned it to a DVD-ROM, all you have to do is put the disk in, reboot the system, and I'll show you what happens when you do that. So just bear with me, thank you. Now, I've burnt it on a CD, as you can see here. Now, it's an ISO file, so when the system reboots, it will go off CD-ROM and it will go through the installation process of Linux Mint, and I will show you that next. Just going to show you Linux booting up so you can see how it looks and how it runs. It does take a little while to do this. Right, I've just rebooted my system, and we're going to try and install Linux Mint. There we have the Linux logo coming up. Have a look at that. And now we're just waiting for the installation process. Right, Linux Mint has finally loaded up from the ISO file we've set up. You can see there's a few options there. Obviously we've got the computer section there, which you can click on, which is basically to evaluate what Linux Mint can do. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to not do any of that, and we're going to click on the Install Linux Mint icon, which is a CD. So we double click on it. It's important to note that Ubuntu is the same process, literally. It's almost identical. So we're going to press continue and select English. Now it says you need at least 7.8 GB of available disk drive space and be connected to the internet. You don't necessarily have to be connected to the internet. I think it's just for updates. It's important to note that Linux installation size is significantly smaller than Windows 7. It's at least half the size. So if we continue after that's okay. Right, at this stage you have various options you can choose. Zoom in, you might be able to see it. Now basically we can choose, this computer currently has Windows 7 on, as I stated earlier. What would you like to do? Now you can replace Windows 7 with Linux, but it will delete your Windows 7 completely. You have an option to encrypt the new Linux Mint installation for security. You will choose a security key in the next step. If you do that, you can choose use LVM with the new Linux Mint installation. This will set up logical volume management. It allows taking snapshots and easy partition resizing. The last option is something else. You can create or resize partitions yourself, or choose multiple partitions for Linux Mint. Now since I've already set up some partitions in Windows 7, I'm going to go with something else. But if you just want to do a straight installation, you would just do replace Windows 7 or whatever you've got. So we click on something else and we press continue. You'd click on replace Windows 7 and continue if you were doing that, but we're going to do something else. Continue. Now here, this allows you to manage your volumes in terms of the OS, such as your partitions with your hard drives. Now as you can see there, there's two main partitions. One is 52 GB and another one is 197 GB. Now the 197 GB partition is in NTFS, which is the standard format for Windows. There's also FAT32, but that's an older format. However, I'm going to set up Linux Mint on the 52 GB partition I've put aside for it. If you can, what you can see there at the moment is you can see up two other partitions. One is an NTFS 104 MB partition. That's for your swap files within Windows 7. The other partition you can see there, which is 1048 MB or 1 GB, is basically the swap file I'm going to set up for Linux. So what I'm going to do, click on that and double click on it, and then just change it to swap area. So that's your swap file on the 1 GB partition. So you double click on the drive basically, and then obviously it'll do its magic and it set it up. Now we're going to click on the 52 GB partition and we'll set it up on one of the file systems that Linux uses. It uses ext4, ext3 file formats. Basically, this is a different formatting system to Windows. Windows won't recognise this drive, so you should not be able to, by accident, delete your Mint operating system unless you format that hard drive in your Windows 7 settings, in disk management. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose ext4. Actually, no, I'm going to change it to ext3 because ext4 is set up for the swap file we just did. So the mounting point is very important here. As you can see, there's a slash there, a slash boot, home, TMP, USR, and so on. What you want to be choosing is just that slash, so when it comes up at the start, it gives you the option of selecting Linux Mint or Windows 7. The problem with a hard drive on standard partitions is you can only set up 4 partitions on a single hard drive without using specialist software. Problem with this means you can only dual boot and 2 operating systems. If you were to use third-party software, you'd be able to have multiple operating systems on if you want. One other key thing to know, if you happen to, by accident, create dynamic drive systems on Windows 7 by accident, like I did, you can actually install Linux Mint to wipe that clean and reinstall Windows 7, providing you've got the Windows 7 CD. The reason I reinstalled Linux Mint over and deleted Windows 7 was, by mistake, I was trying to set up 4 partitions and a 5th partition in Windows 7 for my main data drive on the same hard drive, but unfortunately it mangled my settings and made the entire drive a dynamic drive. The problem with a dynamic drive is you cannot install Windows 7 on it or any other operating system on it. So what I had to do was somehow get around that by deleting and starting again. And I did that by installing Linux and then install Windows 7 again. You can only do it this way without the specialist software. You can do it manually in DOS and put the commands in to change a dynamic drive back into a basic drive, but you can only do that for one partition on one single drive. You can't do it for multiple partitions. So I hope I haven't confused you too much. Going back to what we're doing here is we're going to change that 52GB partition I've set up to ext3 journaling file system, and we're going to mount it so it comes up in the menu when the computer boots up after the BIOS. So we click OK on that. Okay, so it's been selected with an X, so we press install now, and go to the next section, which is to choose your country. So I've selected London, but you can choose other places. So we continue on the next stage. Choosing English as our language. There's various languages you can choose, but obviously English is the main one. So we press continue on that. Right, here it's very familiar, very similar to Windows. All you do is you type in your details. I'm just going to call the system Paul. put your passwords in. You can allow Linux to log in automatically without having to put in your passwords if you want to, or you can leave it as you require a password. It's up to you which one you want to do. Put in obviously your name if you want to. Your computer name is pre-selected. Pick a username, and obviously you can choose encrypt my home folder if you want to. So we just press continue. This stage is just basically while the installation is happening, you can see the Welcome to Linux Mint, and it just runs through a slideshow. It's very much like Windows does, to tell you about what you can do. The slideshow will show you around while the system is being installed on your computer. Be fast and safe on the web with Mozilla, Firefox. Enjoy Java, Flash and multimedia content. In Linux, Firefox is your default browser. Insert a DVD and enjoy a movie. Watch high definition videos with VLC. VLC is, again, on this particular OS, is the default video player. So you don't get obviously Windows Media Player or iTunes. You may be able to install iTunes, not looked into that, but VLC is a good media player. Organise, enjoy and share your photos with GFilm or Plastica. Export your albums to CD, to the web or to online services such as Flickr or Pisica Web to share them with friends and family. Keep in touch with your friends and contacts by email, messenger or on your favourite social networks. Linux Mint provides all your need to interact with Twitter, Facebook, MSN, ICQ, Google Talk, IM, Yahoo and many other networks. LibreOffice to create professional documents, spreadsheets and presentations that are fully compatible with Microsoft Office. Share printers or access them remotely. Browse through 30,000 free applications from the Software Manager. Enjoy screenshots and user reviews. Install software with one click of the mouse. Install Wine and run Windows software in Linux Mint, or install VirtualBox and run Windows itself within Linux Mint. Make yourself at home and modify any aspects of your desktop. Choose from a large variety of themes, icons and backgrounds. Linux Mint is open and easy to customize. Receive faxes and security updates all in one place for the entire system, including the software you install. If you're curious about something or if you're facing a problem, simply ask around Linux Mint. In the fourth most widely used operating system in the world, it comes with a user guide, community website, a collection of tutorials, active forums and chat rooms, and one of the most dynamic communities on the internet. If you're curious about something or if you're facing a problem, simply ask around Linux Mint, in the fourth most widely used operating system in the world. It's a good idea to be connected to the internet so that the system automatically does all the up-to-date updates. That way you don't have to update the system later on. Installation complete. Installation has finished. You can continue testing Linux Mint now, but until you restart the computer, any changes you make or documents you save will not be preserved. Basically, it's saying it's still in testing mode and you need to restart to get the installation up and running. So to do that, we just press restart. If the restart stops working, you can restart your computer manually. Here it's saying Linux Mint documentation, broadcast message, root Mint. The system is going to down for a reboot now. As you can see there, we've got various options. We've got Windows 7, we've got Linux 16 Cinnamon 64-bit, and also a recovery mode for Linux. So there you have it. We have Linux set up with Windows 7 on a dual boot, and it's set up. I'm going to show you. It's the same process for installing Ubuntu instead of Linux Mint or any other Linux based versions. Should be a similar setup process. Hope this video has been helpful and informative and tells you how to go about doing it. And thank you for watching.